Now we're at the end for the wrap-up. We heard lots of things today. We divided the program in 3 parts. In the morning we talked about issues and projects and European policy. Then we looked at smart shipping, and now we looked at data connectivity. So we wondered, and I think we have some WCAP questions ready. Actually, we sized it down into 2 questions for you, which we can use also as a discussion point. We were wondering, and maybe we can put it, probably takes a little while. There it comes. We were wondering if you have missed out on anything during this quite extensive program today. So I wonder if you log in again. Mines still work apparently. Yep. And then go to the next question, which will be, is there anything in this extensive program that you missed today? The no is also a good answer. I mean, it means that we succeeded partly in our mission. Fresh air, yeah, that's probably. I just came back from a holiday yesterday, and I thought, the sun was still shining, but it is rather warm inside. Cybersecurity probably, and what I also, because I found the practical examples, for instance, of Dalibor, where you really see the logistics at work put together with data on where the ship is, data on ETAs. I think more practical examples probably are inspiring. And I think the programs and everything we have to work out the coming year, Sim, from highbrow projects or visions to implementation, probably will serve us with all those practical examples. Public-private cooperation, I think this is a very interesting subject. Maybe, Oscar, we've been discussing separately already also what Roland was talking about, like how can we facilitate also what Steph from Pioneer was talking about, public-private partnership. How would you see this data sharing in the future, either with ECMR or ECMI? Maybe you can stand up. This is Oscar Kuipers from VEMASys. I will take. Can somebody bring a mic? Because I'd rather stay in control of the ceremony.
Sure, no problem. Oscar Kuipers, VEMASys. We are a commercial company, but we are running into problems to cooperate with federative platforms, and that's why we are seeking more cooperation with the government and to see what is possible between commercial parties and private parties, and how to govern that, because the governance of that is probably the most challenging thing to work with.
And then Roland said, well, there are some basic services. I don't know what he didn't put the word on it, but I put it on. Maybe the government should supply some of it. Would you tend to agree with him?
Yeah, agree very much, of course. But then we have to look into how to govern it and how to agree upon the agreements that are made in such platforms.
Because that was actually a question I wanted to ask when you did your delivery. I mean, if it's only run by governments, I've seen several projects in Europe which finally in the end worked out fine, but took quite a while to get it up and running because governments of the individual member states, sometimes driven by differences in legislation, have different procedures and therewith different speeds of implementing stuff. What's your take on this, Roland? It works as it is.
It just works? Okay. No, it was not the intention of saying that's the government only.
Sorry, it doesn't work. Yeah,
It's on.
yeah, no, it does.
It's on. No, sorry, thank you. It is not the intention of me saying that it's the public authority only which has to run it. It is a public-private partnership. The major reason is that we as public administrations do not know how to run it effectively if we don't know what's ongoing in the market. So therefore we need a public-private partnership. But I think we need a responsibility that if we agree between us, and I think we are quite advanced in identifying what we need to do, we define the rules and we define the roles. Who's going to do what? So if you more or less apply for saying or soliciting or saying, I would love to be further engaged, well, let's make an appointment.
Very glad to.
Excellent. Physical internet, I know who entered this. It's probably Nick. No, you didn't, because physical internet you missed. Who put this in? Maybe you could introduce yourself. Sorry, take the mic.
Yes, sure.
Could you introduce? Yes, sorry.
Yeah, my name is Lukas Kusser. I'm from the German Federal Waterways and Shipping Agency. And yes, in the DIWA master plan, or in the vision we discussed on synchromodality and the physical internet. And actually, I missed it a little bit. So what are the possibilities for example, if cargo or cargo-orientated transport decisions are made so that it's not the operators or the fleet managers or manager of a certain modality, for example, of a railway system decides how the cargo is transported, but if the cargo itself is prioritized and searches for a route via the whole European system.
Okay, so well, this would be probably quite an interesting subject for our next event, because I know that Nick Delmere is a very big, in favor of the physical, as he stated here today as well. I want to quickly go to Jo Jacobs. Maybe you could hand over. I'll take the microphone, because we heard a lot about data quality. Jo, your company offers electronic charts, and you use a lot of the data which is supplied by European data management services, and now we have Juris. Yes. What's your take? How good is the quality, and what is there room for improvement?
There's always room for improvement, but I think there are already made some great steps to provide the data. All data available in one single window is very good.
Did you try the API already?
Yes, we did. It works, but it has its limits. But
like?
For example, if you want to request the RIS index, you can only get the first 1,000 items, and the next page is not available. But I think they're working on it. I think it will be finished soon. But what I also want to state is that the quality of data is also the input of data. For example, a few weeks ago, we got a skipper on the line, and who was really angry at us because he came at the lock and the lock was blocked, and he said, why do I have notice to skippers and the message is not in the system? And then we went to look for it, and we saw the message was in the system, but it was not encoded in the right way. So there was a blockage, but it was not coded as a blockage, so our system doesn't show it as a blockage. So the skippers had to turn back, and then so everybody keep in mind, skippers are using it. So it's very important that it's not a test environment anymore.
Well, that's the good news then. Excellent, yeah. You may applaud. And I'm aware that we're shortly also in the Netherlands, and I think you were invited too. We will have a user meeting to hear the experiences. And I know Rijkswaterstaat and the whole Juris is interested in all sorts of improvements. Any other complaints to ventilate? Because this is a good podium, Jo.
Excuse me, I'm not complaining. I'm very enthusiastic. I'm really glad that this platform exists, and I hope that All data will be available there once. But yeah, I think it's also maybe, but that's something not for the skippers, but for us like a company, that it would be very good if we know all contact persons, that we know who's responsible in which country for which of the services. Because if there's something new, I want to report it and I want some feedback. If an ENC is missing in a certain country, or they make an ENC which is 8 gigabytes, then I want to know who is responsible for that.
Your remark is of course noted, but I know that if you enter an email with whatever you want to say, it will then be distributed to the country who is responsible for this particular part. But anyway, this is a good point. Martijn, maybe I ask you, because you did Blauwe Golf years ago. And what was Blauwe Golf again? Maybe you can shortly explain, because there you really made the foundations for collecting information of, for instance, bridges.
Yes, Blue Wave Connected was an initiative by also the Dutch ministry with provinces and Rijkswaterstaat to have an overview of the opening of bridges in real time. So we have numbers.
So you really had to place sensors on the bridge to actually see if it was open or closed.
Yeah, and to make to talk about the definitions and also the layout, and it's now incorporated in Euro, so that's a good thing. And the same for berth occupation. That was also invented at the port of Rotterdam, and we managed to make it national. It's now international.
So if you look at this from a broader perspective, is such, let's say, I call this Internet of Things, that you collect data from these infrastructure. Is that widely available in Europe, or is
the technique is widely available, and I think.
But applied?
That depends on the national countries, I think, and yeah.
Because there we go back to Hefrid Leitner. You know, if you want to have, for instance, information on a bridge, you need to have it connected to the system.
Yeah.
But that's not a big hinder at the moment. That's not a big drawback.
No, I think the technique is there. It's more about operational and choices, and of course, if there's budget, and to maintain it also over years. It's not you think you put on and then will be on for the next years. You need to maintain it too. So
now that you have the mic, what's your takeaway from this event? Because you organized it, planned it together with Martijn Hagen and all the staff. And I was asked by Martijn Hagen, you know, who also the other people who are involved in URISC, in DIWA, excuse me, could they stand up? Who was in, for instance, in Germany? Who was in the other countries? Other DIWA?
Yeah.
So if you have questions about DIWA, you know, you can always go up to these people. And let's have a hand of applause for all the work they did and the event they got together. But your takeaway for the day?
Well, I'm happy. I think it was a fruitful day, and I think it's a broad range of topics, digitalization. I think that's what the day showed, and I think data sharing. I think that was in the last part of the day. I think that's really the most complex thing we have to tackle. I think.
Maybe we should ask the audience the last question. What should be a follow-up action? Yeah. Because that might also give us an idea where we should take it. Can we go to the next question? So what kind of follow-up action would you want to prioritize? And I realize we briefly asked the question to the panel we had in the morning, because it's very similar to, like, you know, what kind of digital action or initiative would you prioritize? Or what would have your strong favor? I mean, we've seen the e-documents, we heard about federated, and all sorts of other things. CFAR. ChatGPT for the waterways. I was actually with Bill Gates. I actually asked it, but I forgot to print out the answer. some weeks ago, you know, how should we introduce ECM&I into the inland waterway transport industry? And it actually gave you quite a interesting answer. It's really worthwhile to look into this artificial intelligence. Accuracy of data we talked about. Of course, Martijn, this is also naturally flowing into what you will do probably for the rest of the year, the roadmap and the master plan, and talk about it.
Absolutely, the discussion and the implementing. I really would like to reach out to the stakeholder groups I mentioned this morning, and if there are people in the room or at home to want to have a discussion about which recommendations are of interest of them. Yeah, we have time still to talk about it.
Yeah, convert the master plan into an action agenda. That's also a very good point. Maybe you could hand over the mic to Sim because he's sitting next to you. Sim, I keep getting back to the life cycle, maturity, physical differences between the Rhine and the Danube. But you gave an ample answer. What did you take away from today? What's your main thing? Maybe what you're gonna tell your wife today. You know, today I was at an event. You know, and this is what I heard.
That there was no beer after the meeting.
But there is. I think there is because Julia went out.
No, I'm just kidding. I think it's the same as I told yesterday at the end of the day yesterday. I think it was very interesting to see all those projects and programs that are going on. But I think what for me is the most important is the question on the screen, and that question relates to all the programs and projects. What are the follow-up actions? Because from the Commission we co-finance a lot of projects and programs, but then at the end of the program, most of the time when the co-financing stops, it ends. And I'm not saying that it's the fault of the program managers, but for the Commission it's important to see what can we take from all these programs and incorporate it into our policy framework, but also how can it be taken up by the sector? How can they use the outcome in the field and into their business developments? So that's one thing. But I was glad to see that in most of the presentations, they didn't refer to the Commission and asking the Commission to do certain things. So that means, in my understanding, that we are doing a good job with our framework and legislations and programs. So I'm going home with a good feeling.
With a smile on your face, and your wife will be happy. I go to Nick. Nick, you made a remark this morning which triggered my interest again also, because you said there is so much going on, there's so many initiatives, there's so many projects, so many programs. We need some kind of, and I put the word on it, control tower to keep an overview on this. What do you have in mind? Could you make it more specific?
First of all, I need a beer.
Well, we're close.
Okay, good. Where to start? So indeed, there's a lot of things, and once I learned if you want to reach an objective or objectives, we need to go through a house first, and I think we are more or less still in a house, which does mean that there is a lot out there, but not put in sequence, not in the right parallel kind of situations which are appropriate. And in order to get out of the house, I would follow Martijn's reasoning. We need a kind of a program manager, so a role which is which Dalibor has in his company, and it's of course at a smaller kind of level, but that's exactly what we need, kind of a program manager looking every day, every night on what the situation is, what do we need from an authority perspective, what from a business perspective, and if in fact Sim is saying the same thing. What do we learn from the different projects? What are the takeaways? How can we bring them together in a different order, and then take it from there? And it's kind of funny that he said we are doing the same job because nobody is asking us for help, but they did. They already are offering help by this CEF technical assistance. So that's why the question doesn't come. But in my mind, the CEF technical assistance should be something like building up kind of a program management.
Sim is putting up his finger. He wants to reply to you.
Yeah, it's probably about the beer.
Sim.
No, I'm not going to reply.
Could you?
Yeah. I don't know if it works. I'm not going to reply of what has been said by Nick, but I was just thinking, I forgot to mention one thing during my intervention. So it was a great day, but there was one thing I was missing today and that we didn't discuss, and that is cybersecurity. Because the more we are digitalizing, the more we're getting vulnerable for cyber attacks, cybersecurity. So this was one of the topics I was missing today. I just wanted to mention that, and maybe for a next in that navigation week, that should be some topics we should go into detail.
I have a theory why cybersecurity is often left out. I think it's just not a very sexy subject. I mean, it's about fear, danger, things you don't want to hear, and that's why we don't want to talk about it. But and then we did a telematics day in December a couple of years ago, specifically on cybersecurity, and in those days it was said like, you know, well, inland shipping is not a real target. So and then we hung back a little bit, you know. But I know that fairway authorities are looking at it.
I believe CCNR released a few weeks ago a report on, or an advice, or how to deal with or how to avoid cybersecurity for inland ports. So that's already something
and then
good.
They keep it close. They don't want to spread that to everybody, because then you give away your secrets.
It takes 3 years.
Jerry.
It takes 3 years for them to write it.
Okay, Jerry.
So then we are a bit faster.
Can you switch on the mic there?
Yeah, then we are a bit faster because in DIWA we have an entire report on cybersecurity. So it's almost finished, and last review comments are coming in, and then it will be made available on the Masterplan DIWA website for everybody to read.
How many pages?
But your needs are looked after, Sim. The report will come. Before any final thoughts, Nick? Because you are partly also to thank for this day.
No, what I would like to do is sit together with, let's say, the DIWA masterminds, with DG Move masterminds, and ourselves as DINA rapporteur, me alone or together with Cas and other people, and see how we can build on what we heard today and the previous day. I think that's the best, for me, the next step to do.
Okay, so before I give the final words to Marcus Erdmann and Iris Reuselaars, some thoughts from my position, if you allow me. You know, technology, it's there. You know, it's so self-evident. But then, if you look behind the scenes, what you have to do to arrange it and get it all together, it is not, the availability is not so logical at all. But we live in a day and age, I guess, you take your phone and everything is at the tip of your finger. And I think that's what we're working at, especially with projects like Federated, Phoenix, you know, to get all these documents away, because that sounds so self-evident. That should have been the case already, probably 10 years ago. But technology is there, the opportunity is there. So, some final words, and I start with Marcus. Marcus, can I, and then I leave it up to you to, there's the microphone, to close up today, and it was a pleasure doing it.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, short final words from my side. I know you are waiting for the drinks. I saw the signs on the wall. So thank you very much for your time, for your valuable input and insights you shared with us today. My expectations have been fully fulfilled. I saw once more digitalization of inland waterway transport is a really vast field with many beds. And it's even bigger when it has to be interconnected to other transport modes and the entire logistic industry. As a non-technician that I am, I'm always astonished at the technical progress and the new possibilities which are there. The motto of the day has been the question, digitalization and inland waterway transport working together or on your own? And I think the answers have become visible and that cooperation is the right choice. Also the communication abbreviations, which we heard several times this day, like B2B, A to B, B to A to A, they show that communication is crucial. And besides from that, it's already in the nature of digitalization that it should connect people to share information. That's what it's all about. So it would be fine to work on the tools together. And our meeting today may be a good example for this. In this sense, stay connected, have a safe journey home. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Marcus. And then I would like to ask Iris to close up the day. I mean, it's a rather gender unbalanced day. I mean,
I noticed. And I wondered if I would say something on that, but I wouldn't, but you did. So
well, it's scientifically proven in gender balanced organizations that they are more successful. So.
Yes, they are, I think. Okay, from my perspective as a new director at Rijkswaterstaat and new in this field of work, and as a chair of the DIWA steering committee, I think it was a very successful day because we had a kaleidoscope of projects and initiatives that shared their visions, their projects for us, and sometimes it dazzled me. There are so many projects and so many things that you work on. I think that's also the challenge for us all to find our way in all the projects and things we work on. A successful feature of today was that we have had a discussion from very different perspectives. The industry was here, the skippers were here, the companies were here, and I think we should do that more. And we should stay talking to each other and see each other's perspectives and appreciate each other's perspectives, because then we come further. There's a saying, alone you go faster, but together you go further. So I would suggest that in the future, and also when with DIWA, we go and do things together with industry authorities, skippers, companies, all from our own perspective and role. So if we can do that, then we will achieve many marvelous things. So thank you all. And before I finish up, I want to give my special thanks to the ones who organized this: Martijn, Lieke, Julia, I don't know where you all are, Cherry, and of course Nick, I think, okay. And of course, my thanks to you, Henk, for your wonderful work today. So thank you very much all.
Nick, some final...
Yeah. Yesterday at the end of
the mail wants to have a final word.
Yeah. Yes, of course. The industry needs to have the final word, as always, I would say. No, yesterday I surprised a few people at the end of the day with a few questions. They didn't know I was going to ask the question. One of the victims was Sim, but I'm going to leave him alone now. But there was somebody in the audience I surprised with a question, but his reply was as surprising as the question, and I would like to repeat his reply. First he said, And it's a gentleman older than I am, a long time career in big multinationals, so he knows all about shipping. First thing he said was, I didn't know that IWT was already that far. So that's good news, but at the same bad news too, because that means we don't sell ourselves enough. The other thing he said, and it's a bit in line with what Iris was saying, Inland Navigation Week, wonderful idea, but you should make it an Inland Navigation Year. That's it.
Thank you, Nick. All right, so that up to the beer.